It's all about money. With your host, CPA and forensic accountant, Sam Rosenfarb.
You're watching It's All About Money, and nobody knows more about money than accountants. Hi, I'm Sam Rosenfarb. I'm a forensic accountant. I've been an accountant for over 30 years, and I can tell you from experience that many people are irrationally motivated by money. I've been involved in numerous disputes about money, brothers and sisters fighting about how they split up their money that left to them by their parents, husbands and wives fighting the War of the Roses after living together for many years. I've been involved in partnership disputes, business disputes with partners who've known each other for 10, 20, 30 years, who virtually kill each other over money. I've seen people steal from the government, cheat on their taxes, steal from their employer, steal from their children's trusts. I've seen people's greed control their behavior. This show is all about educating you, teaching you how you can spend, invest, control, and learn about money and its place in your life. Today's show is about making money in the gaming industry. Can you make money investing in casinos? Is Atlantic City the place to go? Are casinos ripping you off? How can you sell your product to a casino? Our guests will tell you all you need to know about Atlantic City, casinos, and making money. I have with me two of America's most knowledgeable gaming experts. Lloyd Levenson, frequent guest of mine, is senior partner of Atlantic City's largest law firm, Cooper, Persky & Levenson, where he represents virtually every casino. He's a well-known gaming lawyer and is a gaming consultant for the entire government of the Virgin Islands. Lloyd is prominent in class action litigation, and he represents casinos and gaming industry throughout the world. Also with me is David Wolfe. He's a managing director at Oppenheimer & Company and a graduate of Skidmore College. Mr. Wolfe participated in a roundtable discussion with representatives of the governor of Illinois to discuss Illinois' future gaming alternatives. He was a keynote speaker before the Nevada Gaming Commission, the World Gaming Congress, and a speaker at the National Gaming Exposition. David, tell us, what does Oppenheimer do, and what's your role at Oppenheimer & Company?
Well, I was just promoted to managing director, so sometimes I'm in charge of cleaning the latrine on Wednesdays. That's what all the partners do. But no, Oppenheimer is actually the second largest partnership that many people don't realize that on Wall Street, behind Goldman Sachs. And we're engaged in both institutional and retail brokerage activities, very similar to a Merrill Lynch on the retail side. And
so you have retail customers all over the country?
Actually, over the world.
All over the world?
We have 350 retail brokers in many locations: New York, Chicago, Miami, LA, and we have a pretty diverse clientele of high-profile individuals, and then we cover the large institutions that you're familiar with, names like Fidelity and Cap Research and Dreyfus, names like that.
And what do you do for Oppenheimer & Company?
Well, I cover the gaming and lodging industry as an equity analyst. I'm responsible for coverage of names such as Mirage and MGM on the gaming side, as well as well-known companies like Marriott on the lodging side. And we also try to discover new emerging companies that people haven't yet discovered that are going to be the next great emerging company.
What does an analyst do, gaming analyst? What is that comprised of?
It depends on who you talk to. If you talk to some of our disgruntled clients, we don't do a whole hell of a lot. Yeah. But actually, we're engaged in the analysis really from top down of all markets, primarily in Nevada, Atlantic City, Mississippi, the major markets. And trying to be able to dictate where the market will mature and see which operators will dominate and be able to deliver relatively strong returns and be able to recommend the stocks that we think are undervalued at the time, and just as importantly, if not more importantly, recognize overvalued situations and get clients out before there's a depreciation in the stock.
Lloyd, you represent casinos all over the world. Is the gaming all over the United States?
Gaming is...
They call it gaming. Do we mean gambling?
Well,
what's the difference, gambling, gaming?
The only difference is that in some places, if you say gaming, they'll give you a hunting and fishing license. So you've got to be careful and call it gambling in some locations. But there's no question there was a period of time when gaming or gambling proliferated to a large extent. It's leveled off fairly dramatically over the past few years with the turndown of gambling referendum and Florida and in Pennsylvania.
Because at one time it was just Nevada that had gambling in the United States, right?
Absolutely. And then New Jersey came on in 1978, 20 years ago.
Second.
And then it stopped again for many years until Illinois came on with riverboats.
Illinois was third.
Illinois was third, and now there's 20 some odd jurisdictions that have gaming.
Throughout the United States.
Throughout the United States and all over the
Florida
world.
said no to gambling?
Florida said no.
That's the voters of Florida said no.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess take it one step further. There was a large referendum held 2 years ago in the state for over 20 gaming licenses, as we would know it in Atlantic City or Nevada. Gaming operations that included 21 and craps and slot machines, but gaming does occur in Florida in pari-mutuels. That's high lie and racetracks, and they also have poker in the pari-mutuels, but it's limited in terms of
they have live gaming. People sit at a table and play poker in
Florida.
Florida.
Poker tables, right? And the state actually takes a commission on the pot wagered, and it's regulated, but it's small stakes. And when Lloyd was talking about 27 states, gaming's evolved in some form in one way or another. It could be a lottery, it could be video lottery.
So there's gambling everywhere. There's lotteries, there's horse races or dog races. There's that kind of gambling
Except for Utah and Hawaii, I think, are the only two locations in the United States.
Utah doesn't have any dog races, horse races, highlight?
No.
Nothing?
Neither does Hawaii.
No?
Those are the two places that you can go to be perfect.
No lottery?
No.
And why is that? Religious reasons, voters' reasons, just history? Historically,
ask Dennis Rodman, I guess.
But every place else has some form of gambling.
Most places do, and if your state doesn't have gaming, you're probably only within a 2.5 hour drive of some place that does, if it's an Indian reservation, for example. So, in fact, there's no gaming per se in New England, but if you're in Massachusetts, you're probably never more than 2.5 hours away from Connecticut, where 2 casinos currently reside.
I said there's no casinos in Massachusetts. There are no roulette, no blackjack.
Not that we know of.
That's what we think of in terms of gaming: roulette, blackjack, and slot machines.
Right.
A lot of slot machines. Mm-hmm. And there's a new U.S. commission on gambling being formed. What is that about?
It's already formed, Sam. It's, in fact, they're having their first meeting very shortly. And they have, is it 9 members?
It's 9 members.
9 members, 3 appointed by the Speaker of the House, 3 appointed by the President of the Senate, and 3 appointed by the President of the United States. It took, well over a year to get these people together and appointed, and they're going to analyze gaming.
And what are they concerned about? Why is gaming a concern for the government?
Well, I think, not to speak out of, I probably shouldn't say this about the government. I love my country before I say this. I just want you to know that. But it's the proverbial
we all love our country. Nobody wants to pay any tax, though.
Right. And the elephant sees a big
We want
opportunity.
everybody else to pay a lot of tax.
That's right. And true. Well, like Lloyd was saying earlier, before 1990, we had two states that basically comprised gaming, New Jersey and Nevada. And now you have over 7 states that have riverboat gaming or dockside gaming in some format. And it's really proliferated from an $8 billion industry in revenues to over $18 billion. I'm talking about the slot machines and the table wagers again.
$18 billion.
$18 billion.
Why do they have billion a month? It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and the government wants to see if they can regulate. It's a state-by-state opportunity right now. It's for the people of the state to decide.
Well, so the federal government doesn't get any share of that gambling, other than income taxes. The states get a big part. In New Jersey, we pay a tax, don't we, Lloyd?
Oh, yeah, we pay.
The casinos pay a tax.
Casinos pay an 8% tax in addition to a reinvestment obligation. And a statistic I just heard today that really shocked me, even though that I'm in the business, and I used it as a trivia question to a bunch of my friends, and in fact, I used it on you when you were all wrong, too.
I won't admit that, though.
The amount of money that has gone to the coffers in New Jersey over the last 20 years that came from the 8% gaming tax. I'll wait a second for the listeners to bet each other how much it is.
This in the last 20 years?
In 20 years, since 1978, it's $3.5 billion.
$3.5 billion has been contributed by the casinos, in addition to their income taxes, in addition to their real estate taxes.
Absolutely.
In addition to the payroll taxes.
Absolutely.
$3.5
billion to the elderly and to
Where
the
is
infirm.
that money?
It's in the exit ramp on at 32, no.
Right. There is $3.5 billion, a lot of money.
No, but that money did not go to come back to the casinos or to the city or to anything else. It goes into the casino revenue fund to be used for the elderly and for education and
I guess that's why the federal government wants to study gambling. They want part of that, all of those tax revenues.
That's exactly right.
Because if in little New Jersey can pay $3.5 billion, imagine what the U.S. government can collect all over the country.
Right. There's a lot of that's going to happen in this study. Everyone on Wall Street, and maybe for good reason, looks at it with a negative slant. It also gives the industry a chance to show all the opportunities, all the jobs it fulfills, and at least what I'm learning today in today's society is there are more and more opportunities for the upper education in terms of computer skills, highly technical. As these companies evolve and become, more involved with their telecommunications, it's harder and harder to find a restaurant business and retrain a guy who was laid off at a Caterpillar plant, who can park cars. I mean, there is a great value to what the casinos offer, but there are also some negative effects, outliers.
Do all these casinos make money? Do they all? I mean, there's been this tremendous proliferation, $18 billion in revenue.
the ones that I invest in don't seem to make
They don't make money. But David, our viewers can learn who to invest in. They could invest in stocks selling for as little as $2, $3 a share.
Yeah, and that's not actually necessarily the right way to look at a company. Don't ever, in any stock, not just gaming stock, but don't ever judge a company by the stock price. A $2 stock can still go down 2 points, and if it's losing money and goes to 1, you lost 50% of investment. If it means you can buy more shares, well, that doesn't apply. I mean, a $100 stock can go to 200 just as easily as a $2 stock can go to 1.
So the stock price is not any indication of where it's going to go or where it's been?
No, absolutely. We have a criteria.
I should have spoken to you last week when I bought that stock.
No, the criteria really to emphasize the gaming companies, and there's two shortages. One of capital in the industry, access to cheap capital, in other words, being able to get a credit line for 7% or less. But truly the shortest asset right now is management. If you can find a person like Steve Wynn to invest in, or Terry Lanny at MGM, or someone who's developing the next great slot machine that's going to be the IGT of tomorrow, that's the company you want to invest in.
And how do we find that company who has the next Steve Wynn?
Oh, thanks. You just welcome to my web. Open an account with Oppenheimer, and we give you all the right advice.
And find the next Steve Wynn.
Right.
On that note, we'll be back after a short break on how you can find the next Steve Wynn and make your bucks in casinos.
He works for you. He's got a problem. A drug problem. You've got bigger problems, you say. You've got to worry about your bottom line. Fact is, he's more likely to file workers' comp claims and a lot more likely to miss work. And drug users like him suck millions upon millions from companies like yours every day. To find out how to help your employees and save your company money,
it's a shame what drug use on the job did to this guy, how it affected his career, shook up his family, and left him jobless. Of course, the real tragedy is this guy's never taken a drug in his life. When businesses get hurt by drug abuse, everyone takes the hit. Call and find out about our drug-free workplace program.
Hi, this is Sam Rosenfarb. You're here with It's All About Money. David Wolfe for the Oppenheimer & Company and Lloyd Levenson, Cooper, Percy & Levenson, lawyers in Atlantic City. Lloyd, you're involved in licensing casinos all over the world. Does anybody license internet gambling? Is that legal?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question because there are certain strong feelings on that throughout the nation.
Sure, it sounds ideal. You sit at your computer, you play blackjack or poker right at the internet.
Yeah. The problem is that as we sit here right now, there is this inertia on the part of the government as to what they're going to do with regard to internet gaming. Right now, it's not regulated, and there's a question as to whether it is illegal under federal law. In fact, we had a seminar about a year ago where we invited a very top official from the Justice Department, and the topic was internet gaming.
Right.
And somebody raised their hand after there's a bunch of discussion and said, is it legal or illegal?
Good question.
Good question.
Right.
You think we got an answer?
No
We got
answer.
no answer.
Because it seems like the perfect modality for gambling.
Yeah, but
People sitting at virtually a slot machine at home, and
I think what you're going to see, and I think you saw it just this week, where there was a bill sponsored by Senator Kyle from Arizona to fine-tune the federal statute to, as his bill claims, going to finally and make sure that internet gaming is not legal.
is there any way, David, where we could invest in internet gaming?
There are some stocks that are actually listed that are involved
In internet gaming?
Yeah, but again, it's not an official practice. We would never recommend them, and I'd be afraid to tell you about them in a sense, because while they do occur, the question is if you are placing a bet from New Jersey today and you're situated in front of your terminal as you spoke, but the bet is placed in Belize, where most of these operations are.
Belize?
Right.
Right.
First of all, try if you win, getting your money. Good luck. And the question is where did the bet occur? You placed it in New Jersey. Well, gaming is illegal outside of Atlantic City right now in that type of form, and there's no sports betting at all.
Right.
So it's a real question. Remember, there's a racketeering law created by Mr. Kennedy himself back in 1962 to create bets going across state lines on telephones. Now you're dealing with radars and satellites, so it's become a very difficult issue.
So you're not recommending any internet gaming stocks?
No.
But yeah, in 1996, all but 2 casinos lost money. Only 2, Caesars and Trump Plaza, made money. The rest lost money. Yet gambling and casinos are proliferating in Atlantic City as well. Everybody wants to invest in Atlantic City. Hilton acquired Bally's and wants to acquire Caesars, ITT. They're building a Planet Hollywood casinos, or at least there's talk of it. MGM wants to come into Atlantic City. South African company bought Merv Griffin's company. Steve Wynn wants to come into Atlantic City. Circus wants to come. Why is that? What's all this rush to come into a place where only 2 out of 12 or 13 are making money?
Good question.
Right.
Is it 12 operations or 13? We say 12 and a half.
Well, it's 12 or 13, right?
Right. There was the World's Fair that opened, but technically it's connected, and probably can thank Mr. Levenson for that. It's connected to the plaza. So, well, 1996 was an unusual year. I mean, I think if you go through any industry, you're going to go through cycles, and Atlantic City is no different. It's an industry that's never quite as good or as bad as it looks. It's basically developed on a top-line basis within 5%, and the difference is in gaming companies is be very careful of the top lines. You want to look at the cash flow, the operating profits, because you can stimulate your top line by giving coin comps away. You can, to anyone who comes to your facility, give them $25.
And the top line is the gambling amount, the amount that people are actually gambling.
Right.
So you could stimulate that just by giving stuff away.
That's right, and you won't see the costs involved with that. It'll look like every person spending about $80 a day, when in fact they're only spending $30 of their money and $50 of the gaming companies, and that doesn't work long term.
And is that what happened in '96? A lot of casinos gave a lot of comps?
That's exactly what happened. You had an expansion, basically. You had a whole new property come in, the World's Fair, and you had an expansion of the Tropicana, which Astar owns. And there was a real muscling, basically, to keep their customers at their facilities. And so everyone was giving a better and better grab bag. And
but they're still expanding, right? Hilton is expanding, and
Caesars has a 600-room expansion. Harrah's is expanding. The
Dallas
Wild
Park
West
Place.
is opening next few weeks.
Is this all good for consumers?
I think it's great for consumers. I think what you have going on in Atlantic City right now is the same thing that happened in Las Vegas. It's really an evolution, and really you can take it one step further. It's really what happened. Take the hotel industry, basically, which is unregulated. But basically what you've seen over the years is you've seen better product created by companies that we see today that dominate the industry, like Marriott. And if you had a quote, full-service hotel in New York City and didn't renovate it, basically became obsolete. And that's what the 12 operators currently, or 12 operations, I should say, currently run a risk on right now. Is the last property was built in 1990 at Taj Mahal, and you've got brand new, ideal designs coming in from the best operators in the world. And you can't really differentiate the product in Atlantic City right now. They're mostly gambling halls with rooms above them. The new operators coming in, Mirage, as you mentioned, MGM, Sun International, they're striving to bring in a full venue of entertainment, not just gaming. And
it's different in Atlanta, in Nevada and Las Vegas, where we have casinos like New York, and Luxor, and the Stratosphere. But what happened? The Stratosphere was built as this new casino, new idea, and it's a big flop. Why is that? What happened?
Well, because I bought a lot of stock in it. That's why.
That is flop. But New York's a new hotel in Las Vegas, and that's not a flop.
Yeah, well, David and I were talking earlier, and I'll let him certainly follow up on this, but it's interesting that, Oppenheimer and then David had a certain feel for the Stratosphere operation when it was going up, and they were absolutely right because...
You had a negative feel for it.
We actually avoided being invited on the cover solicitation to sell stock at $10.50. Actually, it got done at $10.50 because we feared for our lives, basically.
And what's the stock selling at now?
It's in a fraction.
Fractions.
Yeah, it's a screw size, as they say in the industry.
Screw size, I like that.
Right.
Yeah. But on the other hand, New York was something that there were a lot of analysts who were very worried about as to whether that was really going to make it, that kind of themed casino. And if you've ever been out there yet, it is just fantastic. It's fun just to be there. Forget about gambling. Just walking around.
Just an experience being there. I've been to Las Vegas since New York. It's just fun to be there and look at the different casinos. Look at the MGM Lion and the Luxor Pyramid and New York roller coaster. It's just exciting.
That's exactly it, Sam. I mean, what happens is you're in the Mojave Desert. The attraction of Las Vegas is the hotels themselves. And the problem with Atlantic City is when you get to Atlantic City, the attraction might be right now really the boardwalk. I mean, there really isn't anything truly spectacular about any one operation out there.
So what can we invest in to hope to make spectacular returns in the future?
Well, you're asking me to step up into the high-risk category. So, with that in mind, that if you're looking for spectacular returns, and when you're looking to double your money over, say, 12 months or so, I think you have to look towards a paradigm shift in the industry. And one place that's occurring right now is actually in the equipment companies themselves. And
people who supply casinos.
The slot machines, the table games. People are looking for a new game. I mean, craps been around since World War II.
Craps has been around a long time.
Right, and blackjack has been around, even longer than that.
There are new games entering the casino all the time. Right, Lloyd, you represent manufacturers.
Absolutely. In fact, there's one manufacturer, a company called Progressive Games down in Florida that has Caribbean Stud Poker.
Right, a relatively new game.
A relatively new game, but there are 80 or so units of that game in Atlantic City alone. And it's in countries and locations that I hardly have ever heard of that have gaming. So, I mean, that game, and as well as new slot machines and new types of table games are popping up all the time. Are there new kinds of
slot machines as well?
Yeah, there's a new machine out there called Silicon Gaming. Aptly named. It's really a bunch of investors from Silicon Valley. They've taken a Pentium-based Intel chip and basically replicated the same memory so that the machine commands 5 times the memory and thus is much more rapid in terms of the transmission of any activity. And what that creates, basically, not to get in too much detail, is that it enables the company to give an interactive feel. It gives you a bonusing feature. It gives you a touch screen that has, it's almost like watching a movie or a TV. It's highly developed, and it's made great inroads so far into certain markets.
And is this a company that people can invest in, the Silicon Gaming?
Symbol's SGIC. It's on the over-the-counter. I would preface, again, they're not earning money right now because they're just transitioning out of a development
But there's
company.
a new product that is gaining acceptance in casino.
Yeah, very popular. It's not in Atlantic City, so the viewers can't go down there and view it for themselves and play it. But if you head to Nevada, it's just in about every facility right now, about 8 or 10 machines. And if you look at the utilization, in other words, people standing at the machine playing it, it's about 80 to 100% as compared to about 60% for most other machines on the floor.
Do people call you with ideas for licensing games? Because people who sell games to casinos have to be licensed. That's what you do for a living.
Well, not only do they have to be licensed, but the game has to go through a licensing process also, and it has to be something that a casino wants to have on its floor. You can't just say, I have a game, and walk right in and pluck it down in somebody's casino.
I can't rent some space in the casino.
No, absolutely not. You need.
Do people have interesting ideas?
I would tell you it's at least 2 or 3 calls a week from people, including many employees from casinos and people in the casino pits themselves who see these games and say, I got an idea, can try to help me get it approved. And
what should they do if they have an idea that they think could be a hit in a casino?
Well, they ought to go to a good lawyer in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And absolutely see to it that very early in the process that they get the copyright and patented and all that, because there have been some pretty sad stories of people that have ideas and they don't get to the...
And somebody steals their idea.
Somebody steals their idea. And
Can they make money with a good idea?
They can't afford the litigation and all of that. But with a good idea, absolutely. I said this Caribbean Stud Poker, the idea was only that separate $1 bet. That's all it was. It was a separate $1 bet, a progressive bet on a table game.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
If you have any great ideas, it's all about money. Any questions or comments about tonight's show, write to me, Sam Rosenfarb, 75 Livingston Avenue, Roseland, New Jersey, 07068. If you have any questions or comments for our guests, give me a call, 973-535-1300. It's all about money. Thanks.
This is a superconductivity experiment. Just an example of the kinds of lessons students learn today, from the basics to college-level studies in our public schools. They're learning the important values of hard work and responsibility. They're learning today for the jobs of tomorrow. Public education works. A message from the public school employees of Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.